When I say Amani, you say Amani, Kenya. Amani. Amani. I wanted to be a singer. But I was born in a family that you either turned out a preacher, a doctor, a lawyer, or any of those things, and nothing about singing. So that's how I missed out and turned out the way I have, God forbid, because I didn't get a chance to do the Duran Depeche Mode. So I'm going to try my luck at singing before I say what it is that I've been given 10 minutes to say. Kenya yetu, inchi yetu. Do not think about the time. Think about the words and what it meant for those of us who were born during that period. And you're going to sing with me because I think I'm a singer. Kenya yetu, inchi yangu, inchi yako, inchi yangu, naipenda daima. Did I sing? I've been invited here to speak to us today about nation building. My name is Belinda Ochiel. I currently serve as a representative of the Ford Foundation. And the beautiful thing about having the three countries, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania here, it's because at the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, I represented the youth. Today, I represent the three countries, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. So Ugandans feel welcome. I am your representative. And Tanzanians also feel welcomed. I am your representative. But my heart is with the National Cohesion and Integration Commission because of the mandate that institutions such as this one that have been created with very serious limitations have a role to play. It is with the National Cohesion and Integration Commission because of the heavy duty of nation building, which we started way before independence and we are yet to achieve, but there is hope. So my heart is with the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. I would like to share with you something that I've shared any other time that I've been invited to speak to churches about Kenya and about nation building. And I'll take a very short time. And then after that, I'll speak to us very briefly, giving you a chronology of the things that we've done as a nation that have gotten us to this point where the levels of political radicalization and trust deficits are low. So my name is Belinda Akoth Odoyo Nabuchibukiza Ochiel. So when you look at me, and I've said this twice when I was invited by the Adventists, when you look at me, which community do you think I come from? Especially Kenyans. No, I'm serious about what I'm saying, and I would like us to pay attention. Which community do you think I come from? Okay, suppose that my maternal grandmother is Mgisu from Uganda. And that my mother is half Kuria of Kenya and half Chaga of Tanzania. And suppose my father's mother is Luya and his father is Luo. So who am I? Take this very seriously. I say this because I want to relate this to what happened to me and many others in the 2007 post-election violence. I was working for the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights as a principal human rights officer. And when violence broke out, since I was in charge of Nyanza province during the electoral process, monitoring elections, I was sent to Nyanza province to go and help rescue women and children. They were only picking women and children. That is what happens when violence breaks out. And not all of them, the privileged ones. But I was sent to help rescue women and children who had been marooned from ethnic communities that were targeted in Nyanza province. And when we got to that airport, we were 5 of us. There was one person who was a member of the Kikuyu community. And then there was one person who was from the Teso and the Luya, and myself, and I'm fluent in the Luo and the KICC and Kuria languages. So when we got to the airport, a mob came towards us. Who do you think was the first person to be attacked by the mob? I was the first person. I was the only person that held the Luo name. I was the only person that could speak the Luo language. And I was the only person whose father, because most of us Africans identify with, our fathers as our homes, except my mother's community, which identifies with, his matriarchal. I was the first person to be attacked. And one of the reasons why I'm sharing this with you is so that this concert that we struggled so much to put together is not just a concert, but it's a concert ordained by God to give us an opportunity to reflect as we go towards the elections. So when I was attacked, for the fathers in the room, please raise up your hand. For the mothers in the rooms, please join them by raising up your hands. And I mean it. For the girls in the rooms who could be around, put your hands down. Between 20 and 25, raise up your hands. Well, I was around that age. And when a mob of rowdy people attack a young woman, and I was very beautiful at that time, not like now I'm old. What parts of the body do you think they're going to go for? So, fathers, mothers, and young girls at that age, when violence breaks out, it is the women that are going to suffer. But let me tell you, there's nothing as painful to a father to realize that somebody in any way has violated their daughter, even by just touching. So men, you're going to feel more pain if violence breaks out, because the people who will be targeted are your wives, are your mothers, are your daughters, are your small little girls. History has it that men have been known to foment and carry on war, but the people that suffer are those people that you care about, because God has created you in such a way that you must protect the woman or the women in your life. So what are you going to do, men? So that is the story. So why nationhood? Kenya as a country was never initially a country or a nation. We were a conglomerate of over 60 different ethnic communities with distinct ethnic cultures. And we made several attempts. Before independence, we had reformative and transformative movements that used all manner of means to fight for our independence. The colonialists did not give us a chance to create a nation. Instead, they used us, our resources, and everything else to divide us. So as a country, we were an enterprise of a collective economy for the colonialists. Then the freedom fighters had an opportunity to come together. First, there was religion, the movement of souls, the salvation and the Christianity and everything else that came with it. A movement in itself that helped us to search our souls as human persons. It did not succeed. Well, it did succeed in terms of religion and in terms of personal transcendence, but not at a national level. Then we had reformative movements that came, the unions. You heard about the Kavirondo Association. Each and every community in this country, most communities in this country, had some association of sorts, because that was the space at that time for them to express themselves from exclusion or from hard labor or exclusion from social and political processes, social, political, and economic processes of the time. So these movements came and they were quashed. And then we had the transformative movement, the liberation movement, that brought ethnic communities together. And we had a chance at that time, because we had charismatic leadership from almost over 10 ethnic communities that would have led us, helped us to build a nation. But when we got power, what did we do? We didn't sufficiently mobilize the influence of political socialization to create a nation. Instead, we decided, the leadership of that time decided to coalesce around the issue of ethnicity that had been christened or had been orchestrated or fomented or, whatever it is that they did at that time. So they excluded people from other ethnic communities and came together and started dividing us because of resources. So we used our ethnicities at that time on resources to exclude others, and we still continue to do so today, 50 years after independence. So we use our ethnicities to capture power. And once we have captured power, we exclude people from other ethnic communities, thinking that they are not children of God. Several opportunities have come. We had the movement of students in the universities, the movements of lecturers, the movements of the churches that fought for democratic reform. And in 1992, there was the repeal of the single party, the sections of the Constitution that provided for single party rule, and we had multi-party democracy. And our political leaders who were there at independence came together again and formed what at that time was called the Forum for Restoration of Democracy. But what did they do again? They retreated into their ethnic cocoons yet again, split the political party into small little splinter groups because of the issue of ethnicity and resources. Then we had movements come together, Ufungamano Initiative, lecturers coming together, women coming together, students coming together, churches coming together again. And the one reason why they came together is because they were seeking to find a nation. But this finding a nation was convoluted because it was about the removal of one person from power and installing another person from power. So we had the 2003 Yote Yawezekana. And for those of us who were in universities at that time, when this happened, we were out in the streets hugging policemen because we thought the problem was over. And some of us at that time, we had a lot of energy. You would find us lying on the road and we wanted to die in peace because we had achieved what we were looking for. But it was not about a single leadership. It was about democratic transformation. Yet again, as a country, we missed an opportunity because post-2003, we retreated into our ethnic cocoons, and there we were again with our tribes, excluding people from other ethnic communities, using our using ethnocentrism to capture power. But then we had some progress. It's not all bad all the time. We had an opportunity to change our constitution at some point. So we struggled, but we didn't succeed. And then came the 2007 post-election violence. And we thought that we had learned. And for those of us who suffered at that time as a young girl who was actually a victim of the post-election violence, we thought that Kenyans would learn from that period and that we'd protect our mothers, our children, our nation. But that hasn't happened, has it? Post-election violence, Kofi Annan came into place, and where are we today? What are we thinking about right now? How are we in terms of our levels of political radicalization? What is happening in your heart right now as you go to cast that vote? What are you thinking about? Are you thinking about yourself, your peace, the peace of your family? The new constitution came after the post-election violence. We had opportunities for institutional and constitutional reforms. We've had oversight institutions that have been created. We've had charismatic individuals that have been co-opted into government. We've had a vibrant civil society. We have the Church of Christ. What are we missing? We have all these institutions, and we are going into another election again the way we are going. Levels of political radicalization are high in the country. Trust deficits are high in the country. Leaflets have begun to be dispersed in different parts of the country. What are you doing about it? Devolution provides us an opportunity to decentralize services so that it can be accessed by all Kenyans, to address the challenges of inequalities that we had in this country. But unfortunately, patronage which characterized the central government has been replicated at the lower government level. And now, there is a fierce fight. Give me just 2 minutes. There's a fierce fight for gubernatorial seats in the counties. The unfortunate thing is that the levels of violence are likely to rise now because whereas we normally we compete for resources at a national level, at the county level, we know each other as clans. We know each other as families. So it is likely that the violence will be intensified. What are you doing about it as that person who comes from that county? What are you doing about it? So political devolution has deflected, but power is in the hands of a few people, and they are creating militias that are supporting them. And these militias are going to be recruited into your next county government as askaris. That is what is going to happen. So what do we need to do? 6 things, and I will say very fast. The challenges that we have, if you are here and you are going to be a leader, or you have influence on a leader, these are the things that we need to do. We need to ensure that we enable all Kenyans to access resources and decision-making opportunities. That's one. The second thing, as the church, we need to fight the entrenched cultural practices that undermine fairness, justice, and tolerance. And the third thing that we need to do is to fight persistent prejudices that discriminate against women, ethnicities, races, and castes. The fourth thing that we need to do is to ensure that we protect our vital goods like education, health, and our climate. And you have to do it, not me. All of us have to do it together. Then the last thing that we need to do as a country is to pray for our nation. We need to be on our knees to pray for our nation. We also need to address the rules of economy that magnify the inequalities that we have in our society. May God bless you.